Paul was not trying to create a religion. So I'm the curious Christian, I'm a former mythicist who looks at the claims of mythicists, and that means I have to look at Paul a lot because most people don't understand him. So before we even continue, yes, a lot of the letters within the New Testament that are ascribed to Paul are forgeries. That doesn't actually really matter here because the letters that I use, the letters that most historians use, are the ones that are actually attributed to Paul. So the fact that there are some forgeries in his name don't actually subtract from the letters that are authentic to him. But the big thing here, Paul was not creating a new religion. Paul did not create Christianity. In fact, what he was doing was working within a system that was already present when he came onto the scene. Let's be very clear here. Paul was not the leader of this new movement. In fact, he actually tells us who the leaders of this new movement were. It was Peter, it was John, and it was the brother of Jesus, James. Now, these three individuals made up the pillars of the Jerusalem church, and they were the ones who actually ran this new movement. They were the ones who were actually in charge. This is why Paul actually goes to Jerusalem and gets their permission to have this mission to the Gentiles. It's also why Paul goes to Peter for 15 days and learns about this material. This is also the reason why Paul takes up an offering for the Jerusalem church, because it's part of his agreement when he was allowed to go out and be the missionary to the Gentiles. Now, beyond that, what we see Paul doing is really working within Judaism. In fact, he's actually modeling himself off of Jeremiah. The big concept here, and the reason why Paul is actually modeling himself off of Jeremiah, is because the idea was there that at the end of times, every nation would bow, every knee would bend for God. For Paul, this meant that everyone would actually be able to be brought into the flock. This is why Paul is actually going to Gentiles and bringing a Jewish message to them. And let's be clear that this message is a Jewish one. But the reason why Paul doesn't actually say that these individuals have to follow the law or anything like that is because they're not Jews, they're Gentiles. So he's bringing this mission to the Gentiles and he's opening up Judaism to them because this is the end of days. So no, Paul is not creating a new religion here. That's not his intention. Instead, if we actually look at him as a proper Jew, we can actually see what he's doing within this Jewish framework, and it really makes sense. Now, one of the big reasons why so many people place so much importance on Paul is because he actually wrote letters that were collected and that we have today. So because of that, an undue amount of importance is put on him. But what we have to remember is that he was working within this larger mission and that he was only one cog in the whole system.